Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in. Exciting times we have ahead of us. Just hit tier 8, so I'm ready to go out and try some ships and see what we can do. Currently sat in a Drake, a tier 8 battle cruiser. In this video we're going to look at the Drake fitting. We're going to do a field test out on one of the new hard tier 8 news missions, the standard encounters, and see how they pan out. And I'd like to talk to you about the differences between the Drake and the Cyclone. There are some discernible things that will alter or affect your decision of whether you're going to actually use this ship or not. Let's have a look at the ship tree and find up here the Cyclone. We'll look at the Cyclone's ship fitting attributes. As you can see here, we've got the 25% bonus to medium missile torpedo velocity. We've got a 5% reduction to medium missile torpedo activation time, good for DPS, and a 5% medium missile and torpedo explosion velocity bonus. That is very important because the Drake does not have a bonus to explosion velocity. So with the Drake you're gaining an additional launcher hardpoint. However, you are not having a 25% flat bonus to your torpedo and missile explosion velocity if you have the battlecruiser skills and missile skills at 5. So very different contrast between the two ships. The question in my mind is, what's the Drake like? You can see here the Drake has the same 25% bonus to the velocity of missiles, so that's how far they travel. We've got this rather strange bonus of 10% to medium missile torpedo kinetic damage and a 10% bonus to medium missile torpedo thermal damage, which sounds like a lot, but really that's only to 2 damage types. So if we're working this out across all of the missiles and the damage types and the actual percentage this is increasing it by, it's not actually that significant. You've also got a 4% bonus to your shield resistances, making this very similar to the Moa for the capability of being able to have a tank. However, because of the way this ship is, because it's, I don't think, going to be able to use torpedoes very well on the basis that the ship lacks its explosion velocity bonus, I can only see one plausible fit for this ship, which is to use the medium missile launchers. So as you can see here, I have the Republic Fleet medium launcher in with a almost 58-kilometer range, which means I'll be able to hit some ships from a really good distance. However, 58 kilometers means I'll still be taking some damage. It doesn't mean I'm immune and can AFK easily, but it's a very good range, and the missiles will have a very high alpha strike with the combined damage together. Looking at the defense, we've got 12,000 shield, so that's a nice increase from the Cyclone, which had 10,400 shield. The armor hit points is 8,000 and structure we've got 7,200. Again, they're all step ups from the Cyclone in general. Capacitor, I've only got 2 minutes and 20 seconds running. I don't have any Nosferatus. However, if I remove my shield booster, you can see I'm cap stable, so this means at a range I can pulse my shield booster to keep my shield topped up and not have to worry too much. My scan resolution has increased from the Cyclone ever so slightly, and my signature radius is also a little bit bigger. So my navigation and speed is a downside here. I'm a lot slower than my Cyclone, which is another reason why I've gone for this long range fit. My Cyclone can do about 730 meters a second with an afterburner, and with this ship I'll be lucky to get 550 meters per second. So everything with this Drake is screaming for it to be used as a range ship, and I would argue that if you wanted to get up close and personal in mostly all situations, the Cyclone's going to do that job a lot better. As you've seen in my low slots, I've got a Centi C-type medium shield booster, a C-type afterburner, 2 missile guidance computers, and 1 C-type ballistic control system. So I've got the 2 range modules at the bottom there. I've got just a Mark 7 Valkyrie, and I've got 2 Republic Fleet target painters. Very critical, important when using medium missile launchers. And the logical thing to have is 1 stasis Weber fire. If you're at range and you're doing the harder missions, the likelihood is you'll have a micro warp drive frigate that's going to burn over and put a tackle on you. I've got 1 damage rig in the combat rigs, 1 activation time rig, and I have one rocket fuel cache partition. Now, depending on how well I'm able to apply damage, I am currently producing a Tech 3 rig, which gives me a 15% boost to the explosion velocity bonus. That might be needed. Obviously, depending on your skills, you can configure and swap about your rigs. Try to not use the too expensive ones if you're doing so, but certainly a damage rig would be good. Perhaps one of these rigs, or a lower version, a lower tech, and a range rig. However, I can confirm the range bonus from using a rig is only 2 kilometers. For my engineering rigs, I've got 2 cap control circuits. I've also got 1 cap extender to try to maintain my capacitor, as I'm not using any Nosferatus, and battles may be prolonged, so you need to shield boost as well as running your other modules there. If you really wanted on the ship, you could fit it with a lot of rapid launchers. However, it's not going to be the best DPS and speed tank wise and shield boost wise. I think the Cyclone edges it ever so slightly. So that's this ship fitting, and we're going to have a look now at some of these new tier 8 news missions. As you can see, the ones that were 400,000 ISK on the advanced have jumped up to 1.5 million. Again, I'm now looking at the T8 to T9 encounter missions. Now, when I refreshed this a moment ago, I was very disappointed, as I've been chasing after or trying to find a mission for a long time to unlock Angel and Devil, which, if we scroll down to the bottom here, there it is. Perfect Bait Tactics is now a 25 million ISK mission, which is, you know, almost like one of the former storyline missions. I needed to unlock that to be able to receive the storybook. Now, unfortunately, I've refreshed to hard. I've unlocked that mission. I have already, before this video, run one of these 1.5 million ISK missions. Insanely difficult compared to the previous ones. It's almost like running a easier storyline mission in itself. So I have very little chance of completing a 25 mil ISK one. Let's get straight into this and let's have a look at this storyline mission. So I've arrived in system. I'm going to cancel the auto warp in at 0. Very important you do that in a range ship. If you've got less of a tank, you don't want to get tackled down and newt boomed. So we're going to warp in at around 47-50 kilometers. Again, my optimal range is 57.93. This is a Caldari mission, so we're going to be fighting against ships using missile guidance E-War. My missile range may be reduced. Just going to check my settings here. I'm going to put auto orbit on, and I've set my orbit to around 50 kilometers, should do the trick. So I can see we have 5 ships on field. We've got some snipers, and we have a Blackbird E-War who's going to be guidance, disrupting my missiles, reducing the range and the explosion velocity. I'm going to try and take out one of the smaller ships first. I should really go for the Blackbird, but let's see how we do with a guidance disruptor on our missiles. So I'm firing a volley now at this chap. I don't know if my range is going to work even with my modules running. Let's just see. Yep, I got a... Oh, look at that. Almost one-shot that destroyer, that hard mission destroyer. He must literally have 1 or 2 hit points of his structure remaining. Almost completely gone. So quite frustrating, as that's another 10 seconds to get another salvo off from the missiles. But he has now gone down. Just to double check here. Yep, so with the jamming, I've lost 7 kilometers with the 1 guidance jammer on me. So in some of the harder missions, you will find it's going to be a lot harder. And as I mentioned in one of my previous videos when I was talking about the new Cyclone fitting post-patch, you're probably better off as a missile boat fighting against somebody like Galante or even Minmatar, depending on whether you're ranged or up close and personal. applying pretty good damage as an alpha volley to cruisers. So as you can see there, 3,200. I didn't have my guidance computers running at the time of that volley hitting, and we can see here that the Blackbird is using the guidance and the Nosferatu or newts there. So we'll get this guy down and we'll move through this wave. The thing is, with these hard missions, I'm not entirely convinced by them. If you're more casual and you want to make some quick ISK, probably something to do. This is a 1.5 million ISK mission, and there are 4 waves with a lot of combined ships, and it is taking a very long time. So is the bounties combined with the lower mission reward value of 1.5 million compared to some of the other in the advanced story missions being around 2.5 million or 5 million, is that a better turnaround for the investment? I think that I'm not going to be keeping my settings on hard for the time being. I might go back to advanced, as I think it's more realistic and achievable, and since the patch has come out, it is overall and in general a lot harder. I think if I were to rush into the 25 million ISK mission that I can see there, even if I was at my Cyclone being quite careful, probably a high chance or risk that I'm going to be or come up against something I can't deal with and manage. So as you can see, I'm hitting and getting through these cruisers quite efficiently. If you're watching this and thinking it's taking a while, what you need to bear in mind and consider is that post-patch, in general, the NPCs take more damage, and these NPCs I'm fighting against now are potentially taking even more damage and have more effective hit points than the ones on the advanced news missions. We have to remember that this is a hard T8 news mission. As you can see, for a absolutely dead basic news mission, I'm getting up to 150,000 ISK from particular ships, so the bounty is a lot better. I'm just checking my graphic settings because I seem to be having a few glitches here. You can see the shadings going somewhat. Could be to do with the skin of the Drake in itself. I've had that once or twice on a couple of other ships, but generally speaking, it's not affecting the play. So this Drake is now starting to go down. I think what I'll do is when we get back through some of the other waves in this, I'm going to speed things up a little bit as this is taking a considerable time. I think I'm almost certainly going to revert back to doing the advanced missions. Just doesn't seem like a good return on time investment for the amount of ISK being made. Again, could be something to do here for the casual play if you're not having as much time to do this. But we have another wave that's just popped up now. Let's see if we've got any micro warp drive ship. Probably a lot of people's biggest question is, how do medium missile launchers on a Drake with a fitting like this work against those pesky micro warp drive frigates? And as we can see here, we've got a Corax, which is a destroyer, burning over to us incredibly fast. Let's see how we do against this guy. So fired a volley, got all my stuff running here, and he's taken 1,600 damage, so that's not actually too bad. That's pretty good. Going to now speed things up a little bit and go to 6 times just to get through this wave. We get the gist of how this is now working. The main thing I'd like to see at this point is what the final wave's like, whether we've got an elite micro warp drive frigate, and of course to see how well we apply damage using these launchers against a very fast micro warp driving frigate. A lot of people in the community have been mentioning that since the patch, the micro warp drive frigates are causing the most problems. I've certainly heard of some phantasms that simply can't track them and have no way of dealing with them. So be quite keen to see what medium missile launchers are able to do. I've definitely tried in the past and before I've had these named target painters, and it's been very, very difficult. So just getting this last ship down now. He's almost done. Another volley and there he goes. 150,000 ISK again. So we have another wave in front of us here now. Just going to have a look at some of these ships and see exactly what they're doing, and It appears as if there are no micro warp drive frigates specifically, but there is a micro warp drive destroyer. He's just picking up speed now. Yeah, there he goes. His micro warp drive's running. Let us fire some volleys on this ship, but again, we've already seen in the previous wave what this looks like and how it works, so I'm going to skip right ahead to the next wave. So here we are at the final wave, and it looks like we've got a lot of Condors now. I'd imagine one of these is going to have a micro warp drive, and if we have a look at their speeds, we've got one here that is burning in incredibly quickly. Yep, he has got a micro warp drive. So here's the big test. Let's see. I've got my target painters on, my guidance computers, and we fired a salvo. Let's see how this hits this ship. Okay, so we completely took his shield out in a single hit. That's before I got the stasis Weber fire on. I'm quite happy with that. That means within 2 or 3 volleys you can deal with a micro warp drive interceptor, a frigate, which is very, very good indeed. So he's down. That threat has been eliminated. So that means that you can run missions using this ship, and you are also able to deal with the micro warp drive frigates that in some missions sit outside of your web range, meaning you can't slow them down, and if you're unable to apply damage or track them, you could be tackled indefinitely. So this is quite promising, but the main question from a lot of you is going to be, is it worth buying a Drake over a Cyclone which you'll already have fully fit to run missions? What we need to consider is that both ships have a bonus to range, and both ships are able to use missiles. The Cyclone has a better, I believe, series of ship abilities, being the explosion velocity of missiles, meaning you're able to apply damage more effectively, which in turn, if you want to brawl and do things faster, you're able to use torpedoes on the ship with better efficiency. And the Cyclone can as well use the medium missile launchers if it needs to, for just a small DPS reduction. But is it a small DPS reduction if you've got that better explosion velocity on the missiles? It's quite arguable, and for my opinion in the matter, if that means anything, I would probably not bother buying the Drake unless you're a player that specifically likes to use range. The ship itself has got some slightly better attributes in the fact that it's got more passive shield hit points. The capacitor's quite good on this ship, but the speed again is much reduced, so even if I'm using this Drake at range, I'm having the additional launcher hardpoint, which is going to give, in most situations, an increase to DPS, but that's then kind of taken away by the lack of the missile explosion velocity. You can make up for that in your rigs. However, if you're putting a rig in for that specific purpose, you're taking away something that could otherwise be used for damage. So it could turn out, actually, and I have fit medium missile launchers on my Cyclone, the DPS is not a million miles off, but the Cyclone's probably applying that DPS a little bit better. So I'm going to speed through this now, but my final opinion, guys, is that I think I prefer the Cyclone over the Drake, and I think that the Drake is not a superior ship. I'm not sure why it's a higher tech level. It's somewhat disappointing. My hot DPS is 922, and yeah, I just am the kind of player personally that prefers to brawl and get up close. And you know, even if I was a range ship pilot, probably the Cyclone's going to do a better job. So let us know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments below. I'm sure there were a lot of people that are anticipating and looking forward to the Drake, as it's the next evolution for us missile lovers. Good to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. And if you think this video has helped, please do not forget to subscribe and like. Thank you.